Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, James Protin. Every week I will be sharing the experiences that have defined my journey and talking with people who have their own powerful story to tell. It's about doing better and being better in life, business, and all things in between. The visually inclined can catch us on YouTube, or you can check us out on just about every podcast platform. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. Our guest today is a good friend of mine, somebody that I respect tremendously, that I met several years ago through business. And we've been really excited to get him in the chair, and he's finally here. And it's David Callahan. David, welcome. How are you?
It's great to be with you. It's a good day to be here with you. Yeah, doing fine.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's, we're here in Canonsburg at Chico Bocello, our home away from home. And I like to give them a plug as much as possible. They're just wonderful people. So You're no stranger to Canonsburg. You've spent a good bit of time in this neck of the woods. But and I just found out this morning. I didn't realize that you were from Northwest PA, but you are. I knew you were a PA guy.
Yes. So, yeah, Northwestern PA, McKean County, Bradford, to be exact.
Okay.
If you look at products that the town is known for, anything from back in the day, Kendall Oil. Now, the name belongs to someone else, but the refinery's still there.
Right.
Zippo lighters, who they made the transition from something that people use to something people collect.
Right.
Case knives, hunting knives, and just a lot of good people up there, but a great history of extractive industries up there, and that really
beautiful
shapes
part of the
people.
world as well.
Yeah,
beautiful part of the world. And I went to it's just a sidebar. When I coached high school basketball, I took my team to a Christmas tournament in Bradford. I didn't schedule it. Go to Bradford at Christmas time at your own risk.
You might end up staying for a while due to the weather.
That's what happened to us. We played the first game on a Friday night, and during the game it snowed a foot. And we had trouble getting back to the hotel and the school bus and all those things. It was amazing.
Welcome to the world of lake effect snow. Yes.
It's unbelievable.
That
I'll never
whole
forget
area
that.
of northwestern PA, western New York, there's that time of year before the lake freezes over when you just have to look at the direction of the wind, and that tells you who's going to get hammered. Some years it's the city of Erie, the city of Buffalo, South Towns, you name it. It's,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
It's like a spinner on a kid's board game. That spinner sometimes it points at you.
You don't know where it's going to stop. That's crazy. So you've always been a PA guy. You graduated from Penn, right?
No, well, not quite. No, IUP.
IUP,
went
really?
to IUP, first generation college, went to IUP.
No way.
Great school.
Good for you.
Had a wonderful time there.
Excellent
political
school.
science, that was decided the night before the applications were due. Came back to Bradford after graduation because, I wasn't thinking about jobs in political science. I was thinking of studying it. So I went to work at said Zippo manufacturing company for a year, applied to grad schools, went to grad school at Syracuse. So
okay.
As if the weather in Bradford wasn't challenging enough.
So you picked
I went up to Syracuse.
Let's take this in times two.
Yes.
So you've done a lot in your career. What led you, and we'll get into the Marcellus Shale here in a moment, but what led you down here to the Marcellus Shale Coalition?
Well, friends and family have heard this a lot. Perhaps people, once they started working at the MSC again a few years ago, they've heard it a lot too. You are really defined by a number of factors, but primarily where you're born, when you're born, and the family in which you're born onto or into. So for me, I was born in 1966. I remember, now, mind you, I wasn't a driver at the time, but I remember the impact that the two oil shocks of the 70s had on our family.
Absolutely.
I remember every president that I recall from my youth talking about energy independence. I remember, Jimmy Carter putting on a sweater saying, turn down your thermostat. And I saw how high the prices were. That shaped me. And, on top of that, why get involved in the industry? Both my mom and dad worked for Columbia Gas for a while. My dad for 43 years. A lot of that was with a shovel in his hand, and later on it was with a pen in his hand.
Right.
So, all those things conspired to get me interested in energy. So I've worked in the energy sector through most of my 30 to 33 years on the advocacy side, and jumped at the chance to work in this industry dealing with the Marcellus and Utica shales.
Okay. So could you just, the benefit of our viewers and listeners, could you kind of explain, the Marcellus and the Utica shale plays, that's, I think I'm correct. And that is the largest play in on Earth, really, when you combine the two together. It's the largest shale play in the world. Can you kind of just give us, from your perspective, in your words, explain that to because the average viewer that I think that watches this podcast really isn't all 100% educated on natural gas, and they hear that Marcellus Shale, and all of a sudden there's some trepidation and things like that. But could you just explain that to us?
Sure. You can look at it from any number of perspectives, but it's really a gift. It is a geologic formation that's been around for 400, 500 million years, and something that can help support not just Pennsylvania, Appalachia, the country, other nations for generations to come. It's something that you have to drill down upwards of a mile or more to reach. It's something that you're very, very protective of the environment when you're doing that drilling and completions of a well and the actual production. But you could look at it, as I said, from a couple of different perspectives. What does it mean? It means abundant energy, clean energy, and cleaner every single day, and opportunities. Maybe if we talk about technology, opportunities, whether it's hydrogen, fuel cells, you name it. But it also offers something for people in this state. We're called the Rust Belt for a reason.
For a reason.
Again, growing up when I remember turning on the TV news. Our stations were out of Erie and Buffalo. This factory closed down. That factory closed down. Friends and neighbors losing jobs all the time. This gives young people and job seekers and job changers an opportunity to stay at or near their hometowns, especially if they're in those producing areas.
Right.
And that gives them an opportunity, as folks who have heard me speak a couple of times, and perhaps they've heard too many times, folks who have credentials from a GED to a PhD to work in this exciting industry.
Right.
And again, they don't have to go far from home. The days of, I have to go to North Carolina to find a job. Well, you can still do that if you like the weather down there, but you have plenty of opportunities up here, whether you're in the building trades, whether you're an engineer, you're an environmental scientist, you name it, there are plenty of opportunities. And if I could go on, we've done some economic impact study analysis. We just announced it a few weeks ago, where we showed that the industry supports 123,000 jobs in Pennsylvania.
That's incredible.
$41 billion of investment in 2022 alone. Significant. Now, it's not all, and again, to describe the Marcellus Shale, the Utica Shale, it's not all about the dollars and cents.
Sure.
Can't be all about the dollars and cents. The environmental side of the ledger is just as important.
Absolutely.
And so we see the increase of natural gas, the increased use of natural gas has led to significant reductions in pollutants, what they call criteria pollutants. And if you're concerned about climate change, which I know a lot of people are,
absolutely,
you look at the power sector in PA, CO2 emissions have gone down 44% since 2005.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's
this is having
number.
A real impact
yes.
on people's lives and their health and the environment
a positive impact.
Yes.
All the way around.
Yeah.
And I've been in the engineering business industry for 40 years, and multiple sectors, steel, coal, all of the, what I witnessed when I got into natural gas, into shale gas, and particularly in this area, the companies, the exploration companies, the drillers are the most environmentally conscious companies I've ever worked with. They take great pains and extra steps to ensure that the environment is secure. Nothing against any of these other industries, but I grew up here in in Washington County, as a matter of fact. The steel industry was huge, and I was very much influenced with the steel industry, as you were. Right out of high school, I went into the steel mill. Didn't take me more than about 45 minutes to realize I wanted no part of being a steel worker. But at the end of the day, I remember the Monongahela River back then. And hopefully my mother's not listening, but I swam in the river when you literally would have to almost peel it off your skin. Now that river is cleaner than it's ever been, probably in several hundred years. But this industry is so environmentally conscious, and they're so overly regulated. There's a lot of regulations directed at the gas industry, and some people might think unfairly.
I think the regulations, by and large, are the most stringent in the whole country, and the operators work under them. We just want consistency. We just want to know what it takes to get a permit under those regulations. But to your point, though, about community, and then people working in the industry, people who work in and around it, like yourself included, you live in the communities where the industry operates. Your kids are going to schools where you operate. You're paying local taxes where you're operating. You're going to the grocery store. You're frequenting coffee shops like this. We're a part of the economic fabric, the social fabric of Pennsylvania and Appalachia on the whole.
I can't even, you lose sight of those small things. So, there are several, where I live in Westmoreland County now, over Bell Vernon area. So North Bell Vernon, for example, is a small little community, about 1,800, 2,000 people. But now I see more and more in the community, the white pickup trucks. We had the white pickups, Range Resources, this one, that one. And, but these people who are here from other places, right? They're working here. They're investing they've bought homes. Even if they're renting, they have their families. I see them in the grocery store. I see them in the community. I see them at Little League games, at high school football games. They're as much a part of Pennsylvania as you and I, who were born and raised here.
Well, and don't forget the people that actually own the gas, the royalty owners, the people, whether it's farmers, whether it's others. Going back to what I said about our economic impact, those people in 2022, we estimate, received $6.3 billion in royalties. Now, private citizens, public entities alike, those are real dollars, real family-changing dollars. And you see it.
Absolutely.
When you're out in the field, you see it. Is it a new roof on a building? Is it a new truck? Is it new farm equipment? But you see the impact. And again, the opportunities to stay in their homes, live in their homes, prosper there as well.
Yeah. I have a young man who's a friend of my son's, and without mentioning any names, generational family farm. Okay. Couple wells drilled on that farm. That is the one and only reason they're still farming. Yeah. Okay. That it wouldn't still be in the family if it wasn't for those wells giving them that influx of capital to keep farming. And that's huge.
It was farmers. I think, we have national days for everything, but here was an important one. I think it was National Farmers Day a week or so ago. And we highlighted the connections, whether it's as royalty owners, as I previously mentioned, or, the fact that a lot of the fertilizer comes from natural gas, a lot of the propane that perhaps farms use and farmers use to dry crops. You name it, there are so many connections to the industry, and it's a very strong partnership. We talk about gas like it's just this thing that we heat our homes with, we cook our food with, we get hot water from. Much, much more. And for people in this area, where you've got a lot of the wet gas region, and for lack of a better term,
let's talk about that. The wet and dry gas. Go ahead, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's just it's so prevalent in terms of the impact of the industry on the products that we use in our daily lives, the products that are used in medical care, in building and construction, all from natural gas, and a lot of it coming from natural gas coming from this region.
Right.
You mentioned wet gas, dry gas. There's certain areas of the shale play and other shale plays where Mother Nature didn't cook the natural gas to completion. So in areas in like northeastern PA, temperature and pressure has turned that into a fine gas that's practically pipeline ready. Here in western PA, and when you look at areas west of 79 in eastern Ohio as well, in the Utica Shale, you've got the gas is there, but there's other hydrocarbons there entrained with it. Ethane, propane, butane, isobutane, but it's all in a like a vegetable soup with, you remember the old Campbell soup where the letters were in it. Yeah. All those letters are mixed in the soup. So in this part of the state and in eastern Ohio, you separate, a mixed stream of natural gas liquids from the natural gas. Then down the road, you separate that mixed stream into individual products, ethane, propane, butane. Important chemicals, important energy sources, and you see it in our daily lives. If you need medical care, take a look around your doctor's office. Unfortunately, if you find yourself in a hospital, look at all the materials made from plastics. That's all coming from natural gas, and in particular, natural gas liquids, a lot from this area.
And hence the Shell cracker plant. correct? How many multi-billion-dollar, I don't know if it's $6, $7, $8 billion or whatever that Shell has invested in that plant and in this region. Those types of dollars aren't coming here outside of this industry.
And not just that investment in the physical infrastructure, they've also made investments in preparing students for careers in plastics and plastics engineering.
Absolutely.
Pennsylvania has 2 of maybe a handful of fully accredited plastics and plastics technology programs in the entire country. At Penn College in Williamsport and up in Erie at Barron. And I know Shell and others have done a great job of funding those programs to ensure that the workers of tomorrow are there for the industry. Now, it's not to say that everything depends on plastics, but I've heard folks from Hillary Mercer and others talk about developing the plastic, manufacturing the plastic, as we've already mentioned, in an environmentally responsible manner, to the point where you might have a plastic container of water, and that plastic might be carbon neutral. Simple as that.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's totally amazing. Yeah. It really is. And so let's talk about infrastructure for a moment. We can see pipelines being built. We can see, the wells being drilled. And, if you drive by a well pad that's being actively drilled and you see the big equipment and the lights and all those things, you don't think about going back past there when the well's been completed and all that's there is just a tank and the grass is replanted. It's like
the Christmas tree. Yeah.
Right. And just like a pipeline, it's no different than a water line or a waste or sewer line. Once it's covered up, the grass or the asphalt is all if we put a sewer line down the center of Pike Street here, nobody's going to care what that pipeline, how that went in there or what it was. If the street has a bump in it, if it's not smooth, then that's a terrible job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can haphazardly throw it in. If you have a nice paver, they're going to be, this nice smooth ride. That was a great project.
Well,
gas it's the same way.
It is. Infrastructure is infrastructure. So whether it's water, natural gas out in the field, gathering lines, interstate pipelines, interstate transmission lines for electricity, it's all essential for this economy, all essential for us to continue to grow. We need more natural gas infrastructure.
Absolutely.
It's a fact that's been stated by federal agencies, state agencies. We need the permitting to get it right. A good example of that is the MVP pipeline. That's years and years and years in the making, and it finally took an act of Congress. Shouldn't need an act of Congress to get pipelines approved. Yes. We need to get gas to markets where that gas is needed, whether it's up to New England or whether it's in Europe, where those European countries are still trying to, totally eliminate their dependence on Russian natural gas.
Absolutely. And, when you think about Pennsylvania, right here let's use Pittsburgh as a geographical reference point. Okay. We're in southwestern Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. So there's a lot of land between where we're sitting right now and the Atlantic Ocean. Okay. But what a lot of Pennsylvanians don't realize is Pennsylvania has a deep water port in Philadelphia, the Marcus Hook, okay, where we can directly from here, we can send especially liquefied natural gas to that port, put it on a ship, and take it literally anywhere on the globe. In South America, Europe, literally anywhere. We just need to have the infrastructure to get it from here to there, which is pipelines and so on and so forth.
And they desperately need it in other countries.
Yes.
There's an estimated 3 billion, give or take, people who live in energy poverty all over the world. And that's people who either have unsafe sources of energy, they're cooking with dung and other things that you don't necessarily want to do.
Right.
They have inadequate supplies of energy or they can't afford it.
Right.
LNG, liquefied natural gas, is a way to address that. And again, the folks in Europe, countries in Europe are clamoring for more clean American natural gas. And I emphasize the clean part for that because, you look at the gas that they were receiving from Russia. I would put our environmental standards against those in Russia any day. We've seen analysis that shows we're upwards of 65% cleaner than Russian natural gas in terms of emissions. So European countries have even labeled natural gas, in particular natural gas from this country, as green for their purposes of supplanting other sources of energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that's not to be taken lightly, is the fact that you're talking about Russia. Okay, you're talking about an unstable, government at best, who would not hesitate to use energy as a weapon against other countries.
Yeah. The world is turbulent. Take a look at the situations right now, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, the Middle East. Imagine how this country would be positioned right now if we weren't energy secure. If our national security wasn't improved by our energy security, who knows what the impact would have been on our economy, what the impact would have been on our diplomatic relations overseas. This resource and the resources like it across the country have really aided our national security by finally making us energy secure.
And think of how dramatically different the Russia-Ukraine conflict would be just in itself if we were dependent. I mean, we would not have been able to invest in and support Ukraine the way we have. Russia would have just run roughshod over that, and who knows where they would have gone after that. And that may sound dramatic, but it's a fact. Because of who we are, because we're energy secure, we're able to then exert our influence in other parts of the world where it's dramatically needed. And
Absolutely.
Russia, Ukraine is a perfect example.
They want reliable trading partners. I've been in meetings with the European Commission nations, with officials from the Commission itself, where they're thankful for natural gas. And as you mentioned, we have an opportunity, whether it's up and down the seaboard on the East Coast or in the Philadelphia area, there's a real opportunity to improve the infrastructure, to get more ships on the water, and to do so, again, I'm going to reuse that word, in a responsible manner, to get those ships across the sea and help our neighbors and allies abroad. Yeah,
and even domestically, when you think of another one of our natural blessings, our rivers, okay? From the Monongahela River to the Ohio to the Mississippi, I mean, we should be able to move this product literally anywhere from there. Once you get to the Mississippi, you can go any place, right? But yet, LNG it's a struggle to move LNG on the rivers. It has been, but we move gasoline, we move diesel fuel, both of which are more highly volatile than liquid natural gas. Can you talk about, because liquid natural gas does not explode, putting it in layman's terms, right? If there's a leak, there's less volatility, so there's less chance that if there's an accident that it would explode like you would think gasoline or something like that would.
Recall my degrees are in political science. So, what we can say is that
I think our friend up in Wellsboro told me that
the product can be handled safely, efficiently.
That's where I was going with that.
Regardless of its state, whether it's in gaseous form, whether it's in liquefied form, whether it's natural gas liquids. The industry takes pride in keeping the product in the pipeline. There are many incentives for doing so, not just economic, but many incentives.
Sure.
Some of those incentives are to further enhance the sustainable footprint of natural gas. Earlier in the week, I was down in Waynesburg at a member company event where they were showcasing for DEP officials and others how they're employing laser technology to survey upwards of 20,000 miles of pipeline and related facilities every year to not just identify, quantify methane, emissions, go after those methane emissions. And, as if that technology isn't enough, just doing that in a fantastic manner, they're using now machine learning to take a look at that data and compare that data from, a year or two of doing that and looking at, okay, how often does this happen? How often can we expect it to happen? What is the exact type of equipment that we're looking at so that it can inform their own maintenance practices, their budgeting and everything else? It's about making this business and other businesses better every step of the way. And, when you think about policies and everything, what do we need? We need the room. We need the room to continue to innovate because there's tremendous competition out there to do things not just more efficiently, but to do it cleaner every single day.
Absolutely. And that's industries like this inspire innovation in technological innovation. If we don't have these industries, where would we be without the innovations from the steel industry, for example, from the coal industry? There's so many things. Automobiles. We've evolved in our manufacturing and all of our processes and our regulations and policies and all of it because of industry. That's what got us there. So I'm going to ask you to kind of explain one more piece of the Marcellus puzzle. Can you talk a little bit about upstream, midstream, downstream?
Sure.
Because I think, again, basic education in some cases is still very necessary, even after being here. The first well was drilled in 2004, right? So even after all this time, I think we still need to put that basic information out.
Well, let me just say, as a part of my day job, it's one of our goals to maximize opportunities in all those sectors for Pennsylvanians and folks in Appalachia overall. But when people hear upstream, midstream, downstream, upstream is basically what's happening at the well pad, the production, the development of natural gas. From the drilling to completions, you name it, whatever happens on that well pad is upstream. Midstream is just what you would imagine. It's where you get the gas off the well pad, gathering lines, compression facilities. In areas like Western Pennsylvania, processing plants, fractionation plants, where you then extract those natural gas liquids and perhaps even natural gas liquids pipelines, like the Mariner pipelines, like the Falcon pipelines that are carrying ethane. Downstream is when it gets to your business, your office. It could be, Peoples delivering it, Columbia delivering it, or others. Those are the three basic ways to describe them. And, we're blessed in Pennsylvania to have really strong sectors, but there's room for growth, especially in the midstream side. That's where that infrastructure comes into play.
Right.
When you look at production in Pennsylvania, production from this basin, we need more infrastructure so that we can do more and serve more as well.
Right. Well, that's very, very, very well put. So let's go back to local impacts for a little bit. Sitting here in Washington County, arguably there's very few areas that have benefited from the Marcellus Shale greater than Washington County has. I'm born and raised here. So I see it firsthand. Can you explain the local impact fee?
Sure.
Because there's some, again, what does that entail? And is it just for communities who have a well in their community?
There's a lot in there. There's a lot to unpack there. First of all, Washington County itself, free commercial, a number 2 producing county in the whole state of Pennsylvania. They have the most wells anywhere in the state as well. Washington has been out there, since the very beginning as a trendsetter in terms of new technology, in terms of new practices and sustainability.
And we should give kudos to the leadership as well, the county commissioners, and even the Chamber of Commerce, Jeff Catula, and economic development, and what those guys do. You could sit there and say, well, they're just cheerleaders. Well, that's great, but you need cheerleaders. Every team needs that, and so kudos to those folks in leadership here in the county.
And back to the impact fee, it's a state administered, while the counties initially had to approve resolutions to take part in the impact fees and levy it. The state collects it. It's a fee paid on every well. It's Pennsylvania's version of a severance tax. It's a fee that's paid on every well that's drilled in the state, and that price of the fee varies according to the yearly average price of natural gas, according to national indices. So it could range anywhere from $45,000, $46,000 up to $69,000 for a well. Those fees go back to Harrisburg, and then a lot of those fees, while a little bit is so-called taken off the top for agencies and county conservation districts, a majority of it goes back to local governments. So hence the impact fee. But it's not just the counties and municipalities where development is taking place, but they do get the lion's share.
Sure.
How much last year, this year, when fees were distributed in June, $279 million a majority of which went out to local communities, supporting infrastructure projects, supporting, some counties and municipalities are looking at using it for some broadband expansion. Others have used it for emergency management purposes, county records. This fee does a great job. It's well put together. The legislators and others who put it together back in the day deserve credit because it works for Pennsylvania, works for the communities, to the tune of, since it's been around since 2012 or so, $2.55 billion. Billions.
All the numbers that we're talking about are basically with a B, not an M. And that's huge. Those are really, really big numbers. So you touched a little bit on the new technologies that have come out of this industry. Can you give us an example of something that is really benefiting the average person walking down the street in quality of life that has come out of this industry?
Well, there's a number of things. I've already touched upon how the companies are really going after methane emissions. Now, mind you, this basin right now is the cleanest in the country, and if not the world, in terms of methane emissions. They're keeping product in the pipe. They're doing a great job of keeping product in the pipe. But there are tremendous advancements being made every single day. Now, whether that impacts, a homeowner, this business and other businesses directly, it does cascade down the line, whether it's methane detection, whether it's new advancements with hydrogen. This region is going to benefit from the hydrogen hubs that have been announced. Pennsylvania has 2 of 7 hydrogen hubs in the whole country.
When we've heard a lot about ARCH2 and all those things, and we can talk about that. But go ahead.
That could have an impact. There are companies who are looking at fuel cells that can service your home, that can be fed by hydrogen or perhaps even the natural gas itself, where you're the engineer, through chemical processes can turn that product into electricity with 0 emissions and then power your home in the process. There are advancements being made every single day. And let's not forget, though, again, the products that are part of our daily lives. A little bit ago, you talked about the automotive industry. Your car is comprised of a heck of a lot of plastic, and that plastic helps promote mileage. It helps promote safety. It's all around us. And it's getting, again, cleaner, more sustainable every single day. Yeah,
absolutely. So we've talked about the positive impacts and outcomes from the so far. But what about the challenges? What challenges are out there that you see on the horizon that we still have to overcome?
Well, there are tremendous challenges, again, from the regulatory and permitting side. And again, I'm not talking about we need this regulation cut.
Right.
We need clarity. What does it take to get a permit? How long will it take to get a permit? And can I depend on that? All that activity that we've talked about that happens at the well pad, that happens with gathering lines, construction of other facilities like compression facilities, processing plants. It is, you could choose your analogy. It's either a highly complicated dance or it's like a symphony where everybody has to come in on time with the right products at the right time. You need the permits in place, and you need to know when those permits are available, whether it's an earth moving permit, a well permit, an air permit, or among the many other permits that are required in this industry. You need to have an idea. You don't want a rig that costs a lot of money to sit around. You don't want those rigs sitting idle. You don't want the workers sitting idle as well.
Time is money.
You want to keep everything moving and making the most efficient use of your resources as possible. And the regulatory process, the permitting process, is a big part of that.
I agree. And honestly, David, that is true in Pennsylvania, unfortunately, in every industry. The process,
we're not so special.
No, you're not. I mean, we try to get permits on. I can get my colleagues on the water and wastewater side of municipal consulting. Just to get a wastewater treatment plant, the permits and everything. We're looking at 9 to 12 months for reviews. It's beyond frustrating.
I'm not going to get the exact timing right, but I was at an event in the city of Pittsburgh for the Regional Alliance, and some people were talking about a homeless facility that a number of people and a number of businesses supported that took 2 years to get permitted.
Yes.
So
2
years.
It's crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
And it's a problem that there's a solution there. It's easily solved. The solution's on the table, but for some reason, both sides can't find their way to reach in. And there's always a compromise. A mutual friend of ours who was in the legislature for a while, Mr. Salabai, had always said in every negotiation, the compromise is always on the table. It's just getting both sides to recognize it and accept it.
Well, and I like to, look at our industry, look at what we do, how we do it, how we impact people's everyday lives. The issues aren't partisan. Who doesn't support national security and energy security? Who doesn't support sustainable energy, abundant energy? Who doesn't support all the jobs for the future, jobs for their children and career changers to stay in their communities? That's not an RD issue. It's not a D issue. No. That's everybody's issue, and it's about getting it right.
Well, and we should be looking at this issue, and I don't even like calling the Marcellus Shale an issue, but I think looking at natural gas, particularly in the Marcellus Shale, because that's who we are, we should not look at it as a D or an R or any other thing but Pennsylvanians. We're Pennsylvanians. This has been in my lifetime. See, I'm a little bit older than you. I was born into steel and coal were king. Okay. I remember smoky Pittsburgh. I'm old enough to remember that. And I remember when this part of Washington County was nothing. Okay. Those communities along the river, the Shawways, the Denoras, the Monongahela Hills, they literally propped up Washington County from the steel industry. You had tens of thousands of people working in that industry. So I was born into that. The environment was crap then. It was terrible, but nobody was waving that flag because everybody had a new car in the driveway. Everybody had a house. Everybody, there was no unemployment. Everybody was working. Anybody that wanted to work was working. So you didn't hear that cry. If anybody has ever worked or been around a steel production facility and knows what a pickle line is and knows the chemicals and things that go into a pickle line in a steel mill that was being discharged into the river, would not believe the difference. I mean, what we're talking about in this industry is nothing compared to that.
In 2023, it's not a choice. We can have both environmental progress, environmental benefits, and economic advancement.
Yes.
And selfishly, I think natural gas is one of the ways to do it. Domestic natural gas, gas from this region.
I agree 100%.
It's a way to do it. It's a false choice for folks to suggest otherwise.
Yes, I agree 100%. And unfortunately, in the society we live in today in this country,
you have to pick a side.
There has
to be conflict.
There has to be. And
pick up your phone. Show me the conflict.
Yeah, it's always there. It's all around us. And see, I'm a person that believes there's enough for everybody. We don't have to compete. There's no reason why we all can't win. Again, getting back to that compromise. And this industry gives us that opportunity for everybody to win. Not just the gas companies, not just EQT or CNX or these people. All of us, you, me, Nick, it gives a chance for Pennsylvania to win. Okay? We're a very key state in the overall scheme of the United States politically. Okay? We're a cornerstone, a keystone they call us that for a reason. Pennsylvania is historically one of the leading states in this country.
We've got it all. We have resources. We have the geographic location to serve key markets.
Right.
And let's not forget something that we haven't talked about that much. And we've got a great labor force. The construction trades in this state are unparalleled in terms of quality of work, on time, safe. They've been great partners in our industry. They do work in several segments of the industry. They've been tremendous partners in a lot of the growth, a lot of the work that you've seen being done by folks in the trades.
Absolutely. And let's not forget Pennsylvania's historic place in the oil and gas industry. Okay.
Where I'm from. Bradford was a booming town in the 1880s. Yes.
I moderated a panel discussion and it focused on energy in Titusville last week. And it'd been a long time since I've been in Titusville. But I have to tell you, what happened in that neck of the woods in about 1858 or 59-ish, right? I mean, we started this. We literally started it. And, I'll give you a little piece of history. You can Google this. Wheeling Pittsburgh Steel, local steel company at a plant in Allenport, okay? In the late 1920s, early 1930s, the oil business, they were drilling. It was going full force. Texas, all over the place where you would think. The most productive department in Wheeling Pittsburgh Steel was their oil well tubing department, okay? My grandfather happened to be the superintendent of that department. So the industry reached out. At the time, they could only go so deep because you could only produce the product in certain segments. There's a patent for a coupler that allowed them to couple the joints and move them deeper, and also an elbow so it would bend, which gave them the to be able to turn. Those were patented and made in Allenport, Pennsylvania, right here in Washington County.
It's amazing.
Okay, so we've been in. That was in the mid 1930s. So I've seen the patents, right? So we've been involved in this industry here forever.
Yeah.
Forever. So this isn't like a new thing that we've come in and, no, this is something that we've been up to our neck in for nearly 100 years.
Well, and given the fact that we have upwards of 100 years, probably much more than that, of supply of natural gas, people well into the future are going to be looking at what we're doing today in the same manner.
Right.
In the same manner. Look at the advancements. Look at how far, look at what great things we've done. Look at how far we're going to take this in the future.
Yeah. And it's, we were a leader in steel. We were a leader in coal. We are, and we can be even more of a leader in natural gas. And if we would just embrace this, we could take Pennsylvania and all of us with it to a level where we are the leaders in the United States. We can dictate then. We can say, okay, hey, here's this, here's that. We're a beautiful state. We're a scenic place to be. Whenever I have somebody, David, come, a colleague or somebody come in from out of state that's never been here, and I pick them up at the airport and we take that drive, they're stunned. They're stunned, particularly the guys that come from Texas and Oklahoma. They can't get over how green it is, and the fact that if you stand in the point in Pittsburgh, right downtown, 20 minutes in any direction, you can be on a farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just...
And this industries and others like it are great stewards of that environment.
Stewards.
And we're made up of people who are conservationists who go out and hunt and fish and are very mindful of the environment. And everything in it.
It amazes me that, you have a very vocal minority that is just out shouting common sense.
What we have are the facts. Facts are on our side. Free commercial. Look at our website. Follow me on LinkedIn. Look at our social media channels.
What's your website?
MarcellusCoalition.org, the world's longest address. And yes, people will misspell it. Look things up on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. We have tons of facts and information. We hold ourselves to a very high standard in terms of the information that we share, the facts that we gathered. We're held to a very high standard. So if folks want to take a look, if they have questions, take a look. Find out for yourself. That's something that I find fascinating. Nick, I'm looking at you, about people of your generation and others. You take the time to do your research. You don't get your news, you don't get your information the way you and I have.
No, not
Nick,
at all.
You might hear a podcast in the morning with these are the headlines, and you could say, that interests me. I'm going to look that up for the next 24 to 36 hours and learn about it.
Right.
Folks want to do that about our industry. They're more than welcome to do so. We've got everything you need to know, to learn, website, social media channels.
Well, and you're right. The facts are there. The science is there. You just have to get past that initial knee-jerk reaction that, and there's, listen, the people the environmentalists, and it's not an us versus them or we and they. We're all Pennsylvanians. We all want the same thing. The people who are feeling that they must protect the environment, that they are protecting the environment, they have their facts and their science as well. We're all saying the same thing. We all want the same thing. We all want a better Pennsylvania. We all want a better country. We want a better quality of life. And in working together, we can get that.
We do, and we're getting it.
Yeah.
Some of the facts I shared show it. And again,
There's
it's
progress.
not a choice.
Right.
It's not a choice.
It doesn't have to be a choice. We don't have to choose.
It's an opportunity to have both environmental progress and economic progress. And we're getting there, and we're doing it every single day.
It's amazing to me. And we've come very, very far from 2004 and the first range resource as well, and it's been a boon to some places, and it's still it's a touch point for a lot of people, but when you sit down with you and other people in the industry and have these types of conversations, okay, we're not advocating for the industry, we're not advocating for the environment, we're presenting facts and talking about how this can be the best of both worlds for everybody. Everybody, again, like I said, everybody can win.
Well, and I think, going back to what I said about, you could look at the website. Well, chances are, if you live in this area, if you live in other rural areas of Pennsylvania where production and midstream facilities exist, you're going to encounter people who either work directly for or work associated with the industry. Ask them. Talk to them.
That's exactly
They're your
right.
friends and neighbors. They're
exactly right.
They're in the grocery store. They're in the church parking lot. They're at the ball fields.
Yeah.
See what they do for a living. See how they're supporting their families. Ask them about what they do, how they do it. You'll be impressed. I guarantee it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I said, in my little community, I see the impact, not just from wells being drilled, but also from these people becoming part of the fabric of the community. I can even point out where there are guys who came here from the industry, brought them here, that are now sitting on borough councils in their community.
But let's not mistakenly say though that everybody who's working in the industry came from somewhere else.
No, you're exactly right.
Homegrown.
You're
We're
exactly
homegrown as well.
Majority, I think the majority of, yes, absolutely.
Vast.
I'm a perfect example.
Yes. Other engineering firms who have been designing sewage treatment plants, water treatment plants, and other things for municipalities. It's a part of their business now to work in and around the industry.
Absolutely.
So institutions in Pennsylvania on that side, whether it's environmental consultants, again, labor, you name it, they're now a part of this industry.
Well, the first project, when I was with Chester Engineers, for example, the first project we did in the industry was a water project.
Yeah.
So it's not just gas. There's so many things associated with it. Even everything that's associated with developing a well pad.
You mentioned water. If I could, that's another area that I should have mentioned about technology. The industry takes great pride in this industry, in this state, in leading the country and how it handles wastewater.
Right.
Disposal is an option for maybe less than 7%, maybe 5% of wastewater. The rest is somehow treated, reused, recycled, you name it, it's done. But one of the things that's being investigated right now, we already do, and some companies already do extract salt and calcium. So for example, if you have a water softener, if you have pool salt or anything else, chances are some of it is coming from the natural gas industry. Now they're looking at taking it a step further and extracting lithium, a critical mineral. There are studies from Penn State and elsewhere that show that there are significant quantities of lithium in wastewater. So there are companies out there looking at how to extract that and use that in other sectors. Those critical minerals are called critical for a reason.
That's exactly right.
We have an opportunity
to
really make a dent in another deficit and perhaps make us secure in terms of our critical minerals, because we are nowhere near secure in our supply of critical minerals right now.
Right.
The natural gas industry can perhaps help with that as well.
Well, and it just really drives home the need for this country to have an energy portfolio. It doesn't have to be gas or electric. It doesn't have to be gas or solar. We don't have to make that choice. It should be a portfolio. When you mentioned lithium, which I didn't know that, by the way. I learned something today, so that's awesome. Lithium's a finite resource on planet Earth, right? So when you look at all the EVs and all the things that are battery powered, we'll run out of lithium. It's a finite resource. So if you can pull that from that's amazing.
And would you like to get it from this country, again, under strict environmental standards and regulations, or from countries that might not be great about utilizing child labor, perhaps, to get cobalt and other critical minerals out of the ground.
100%.
Or yes,
100%.
we have a chance to really do something here domestically with that as well. It's complementary.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, I want to thank you again because, I mean, we could sit
this
here
has
and
been
talk
great.
about this all day. And I love this conversation because I'm passionate about this industry and what it has done and can continue to do for my home where I live. So, and I prepped you on this a little bit. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background. You know, live, love, learn, pray, inspire is the foundation. Those are the foundational principles of everything that we do. Our blog, this podcast, the book that I'm writing, all of these things are based on that. So if you would think about that for a moment, live, love, learn, pray, inspire. One of those will resonate with you. So could you let us know what that is? That's how we close. What is that and what does it mean to you?
Well, this is like, let's make a deal, and I will choose door number 2, love. Everything else flows from that. Right. So if you want to inspire people, if you want to live, it all starts with that. It starts with the conversation. Mm-hmm. It starts with your family. It starts with your community. It's all right there. It's about being a mentor for people. That's the inspiring part.
Right.
You know, we talked about, young people in the workplace, career changers, you name it. Let's inspire them. Let's show them respect. Let's be mentors. And it doesn't mean a formal mentoring program.
Right.
It's about how you conduct yourself.
Yes.
Throughout the day. Somebody's always watching.
Mm-hmm. No, you're correct.
And it's important. So yes, door number 2 for me is the one that opens all those other doors.
I agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a great day. And thank you so much. This is going to be a must-see show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.